have found the Genesis frequency. This is Dr. Stephen J. Kazmina welcoming you in to another episode of a show that focuses on your whole life prosperity and success. Whole life prosperity and success by cooperating with the universal laws that are available to each and every one of us. This is Quantum Leap Goal Achievement, radical personal transformation, whole life prosperity and success. Now, stay tuned for another exciting episode that'll move the needle in your life from where you are now to where you want to be.
And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it may be, wherever you are in the world. When you hit that play button, so glad you did. This is Dr. Stephen J. Kazmina coming at you with another episode of the Genesis Frequency. And I appreciate you being here. Whether you've been here many, many, many times or you're brand new, I appreciate you. And I mean that. Thank you so much for listening. I'm in my 8th year here with this leadership development, personal development, professional development, spiritual development, just human potential development podcast. Here sharing what has worked in my life and what I have distilled from years and years of study, my doctorate in holistic life coaching, and all my other applications and action steps and trial and error, and most of all, the school of hard knocks, going from broke and ready to check out to leading a very successful life living here on Okaloosa Island, Barrier Island here in Florida. So welcome in, welcome in. So glad to have you with me. I want to talk today about, we were talking a little bit in the leadership space about that information I just shared with you, the information that I distill and share with you on this show. And we're really talking about how information in and of itself doesn't really do anything. So we've been talking about from information to transformation, but we're going to shift gears just a little bit. And this is for everybody. I think we're all in a leadership role, even if we don't have other individuals that report to us. We're all leaders because we're leading our own life. And that's how I approach leadership development with my company, Success Ocean International. We're a company, a franchisee of Leadership Management International, and we facilitate leadership development programs. But when we get started, they all focus on personal development and developing the skills that we need to lead our own lives effectively, efficiently, and successfully. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today for everyone in the workplace. And in your home life. And, we just have to have some basic skills, don't we, to navigate life and living. So my point is share this podcast with someone. You will know after getting through this who needs to hear this. Just share it with them. Share it with them. Do it a favor. This is free, right? Just ask them, hey, give this guy a listen. There's some value in here. Most people put little to no value on that which they get for free. Don't make that mistake. And don't forget, reach out to me so we can go deeper. Hopefully bring this into your company or just to work through one of my programs with me. Successappointment.com gets you my calendar. Successappointment.com. It'll open up in your time zone and we'll have a conversation. So reach out. All right. So this is going to turn into probably a 2 or a 3-part series here because we're going to talk about soft skills. We're going to talk about the skills that actually change your life. So welcome back in. I am so glad you're here today. And let me get started. Let me kick this one off with a simple observation that most people discover sooner or later in their careers and in their lives. You can have all the knowledge in the world, all the education, all the technical expertise, and still struggle to move forward. See it all the time. Bob Proctor, my coach and mentor when he was here, as I became a Proctor Gallagher certified consultant, would call this the knowing doing gap. But really, you can have all of this and still struggle. Why? Because success in life is not determined only by what you know. We know this. We know this. We see it all the time. We see people with their degrees falling off the end of their business card. But yet they appear to be clueless and functioning or barely functioning as an unconscious competent, right? So it's not determined only by what you know. It's determined by how you relate to people, how you relate to challenges, and quite honestly, how you relate to yourself. And those abilities, the abilities to do that, are what we often call soft skills. Now, the phrase soft skills is really a bit misleading because there's nothing soft about them, all right? In fact, these are often the hardest skills to master, but yet the most powerful ones you can develop. So we're going to talk about those a little bit over this episode and the next few ones. Now, technical skills may help get you a job, but it's your ability to communicate, to listen, to adapt, to collaborate, and grow that really determines how far you will go. These are the abilities that turn information into transformation. That's what it's all about. And that's what we're going to explore in this new series. So let's look at these as the missing dimension of success. All right. Because along the way, we talk about so many things, because really I'm all about success and achievement and doing it in a quantum leap kind of way, right? Quantum leaping over a lot of stuff to get to our objective, our goals, our desires, our aspirations. So we miss a lot of this stuff. So that's why I encourage you to always have a notebook to listen over and over and over again, because repetition causes retention, which will in turn cause us to embody the material that we are listening to and studying. Most people spend years developing their technical knowledge. They really do. Engineers study engineering, right? Accountants study accounting, managers study management systems, and all that is valuable. But something interesting happens when people move into leadership or higher levels of responsibility. Suddenly, the problems they face are no longer technical problems. They are people problems, miscommunication, conflicting expectations, team tension, lack of trust, resistance to change. You see, organizations are not just systems of work, they are systems of human relationships. And the ability to navigate those relationships is what separates average performance from exceptional leadership. That's where these deeper skills come in. That's why they're so important. I often talk about this. Why do we have to develop ourselves as leaders? Why do we start now, especially if we don't have anyone that reports to us? We have to develop these leadership skills, these soft skills. Let's call them leadership skills, whatever you want to call them. It doesn't matter. We have to develop them because when we're being considered for a position, I see it so many times, and I talk about this quite a bit. We have to, the leader, he retired. He got a new position somewhere else. He left the company or whatever, for whatever reason, that leader is no longer in that role. So what does upper management do? What does the executive team do? What does the CEO, what does the boss do? Well, he looks to the rest of the team and he says, oh, John over there, he's been a CPA with us for 15 years. Man, he is the sharpest CPA we got in that department. So they move him to the position. That doesn't mean he's got any leadership skills. I see it the same thing in manufacturing. Well, man, that tool and die guy, man, he hasn't called in sick in over 5 years. He knows his stuff. They promote them, or the high-low driver, just because they're a good tool and die maker, a high-low driver doesn't mean they automatically have the skills necessary to lead a team. So we have to take it upon ourselves if we want to grow in our vocation or whatever vocation we decide to move into. We have to be leaders of our own lives and develop these skills so that we may be recognized as someone that is always working to develop the leadership aspect of our character and our personalities and individuality. So one of the most powerful abilities, the first one I want to talk to uh, talk to you about. I get excited about this stuff. One of the most powerful abilities a person can develop is emotional intelligence. And this is one I'm bringing this up first because this is one I struggled with early on. And really, emotional intelligence is simply the ability to understand and manage emotions, our own emotions, both our own and of course those of others, but we have to be in control and in charge and understand and manage our own first. Now, this may sound simple, but it's incredibly powerful because many of the decisions people make are not based on logic alone. They are influenced by emotion. Think about it. Just give it some thought for a moment. Just observe sometimes in your own life. Conversation goes badly at work. Someone feels unheard. Someone feels dismissed, unseen. Someone feels criticized. And suddenly, what should have been a simple discussion becomes a conflict. Emotional intelligence helps us step back and ask questions like, what am I feeling right now? Why am I reacting this way? Why am I considering reacting in a certain way? Hopefully you catch yourself right there. What might the other person be experiencing? And how can I respond in a way that builds understanding instead of tension? When you develop emotional intelligence, you become less reactive and more aware of responding appropriately if a response is necessary. And well, awareness is the beginning of wisdom in my book. So let's talk about empathy a little bit within that understanding. That empathy is really the bridge between people, closely connected to emotional intelligence, and it's another power skill. Empathy. Empathy is the ability to see the world through someone else's perspective, through their eyes. It's not about agreeing with everyone. It's not about dismissing anyone. It's about understanding them. When people feel understood, something remarkable happens. Walls begin to lower. Defensiveness fades. Communication becomes easier. Empathy creates connection. Yeah, she heard me. He heard me. He listened, right? This is one reason great leaders are not just skilled thinkers, they are skilled listeners. They listen not just for words, but for meaning, not just for facts, but for feelings. So important. And when people feel heard, trust begins to grow. He really listened to me today. She really listened to me today. Changes everything. So let's look at communication here because communication is really the skill. And I talk a lot about communication, the skill that really connects everything. If emotional intelligence is the awareness of human experience, communication is the ability to express and exchange that experience effectively. Keywords: express and exchange. Communication is much more than speaking clearly. It includes listening deeply, reading body language, understanding tone, clarifying expectations, and making sure that meaning is shared, not just words. Many misunderstandings in life occur not because people disagree, but because they misinterpret one another. Someone says something quickly, right? Just think about this. Recall a situation in your own life. Someone says something quickly, someone else hears it differently than it was intended. And what happened? Assumptions fill the gap. I see this all the time. Somebody makes an assumption, they adopt it as a belief, it becomes their truth, and they build everything else around it. And then they start sharing it, which makes everything much, much worse. And then suddenly tension appears where none is meant and it's growing. I mean, it's growing like a virus, right? Spreading like wildfire. Effective communication can slow that entire process down or perhaps even eliminate it altogether. Effective communication invites clarity, it encourages openness, and it creates an environment where people can speak honestly and respectfully. So important. So I would encourage you to, you see this as a problem besides this soft skill, 10 soft skills workshop I'll be doing. I also have a multi-week, 6-week program on effective communication. I love doing it. So reach out. We can talk about that too. Let's keep going with this. Professional presence. How about that? Another powerful soft skill is something called professional presence. And professionalism is not about being distant or rigid. It's about conducting yourself with integrity, responsibility, and respect. And it shows up in simple actions: being dependable, keeping commitments, doing what you say you're going to do, speaking respectfully, taking ownership of your work, right? Taking personal responsibility. Now, these may seem like small things, but they communicate something powerful to the people around you. And yes, it is noticed. They communicate trustworthiness. And trust is the foundation of every successful team, organization, ministry, and relationship. Every company, even in an entrepreneurial environment or a small business. So even if we're a solopreneur, we have to pay attention to these skills because we're communicating with the customer, the clients, the people that walk through our doors, right? The people that call us. And let's remember too that these soft skills are not inborn, right? One of the most encouraging truths about these abilities is that they can be learned. And that's why this work is so important. I really feel it's really important, the work that I do. Many people believe that some individuals are simply people persons. I never really like that. I'm a people person, right? While others are not. And that's okay. But man, that used to be a thing. I'm a people person. People would do that all the time in interviews. So, what makes you a good fit for this position? I'm a people person. Oh, boy. Don't get me started. You know what I'm talking about. Many people believe, though, that some individuals, they simply are that, while others are not. But this is not really true. Like any skill, interpersonal abilities improve through practice. Any of these things we can develop. It's all about development. I don't even consider what I do as training anymore. I can consider it development because, I always share the application we can make in our own lives to our own situations and the action steps we can take. And we do those things over and over and over again. And we become excellent at them, right? Through practice. You can become a better listener through practice. You can develop stronger empathy through practice, right? You can learn to communicate more clearly through practice. You can strengthen your emotional awareness. These skills grow through intention. That is your power to make a choice, to decide, to set the intention and commit to it. And all of this through experience. Just as you once practiced technical skills and till they became natural. Watch somebody play the piano. They practice. You see them. Oh man, they make it look so easily. They're a natural. No, hours and hours of practice that made them look like they're a natural. You can practice these abilities until they become part of your character. We can all do this. So if you want to, I want to talk a little bit about the importance of practicing awareness, because if you want to begin strengthening these abilities, this is the first step, and it's simple. It's really to pay attention. And I told you a couple episodes back, it's going to come up that I'm going to use this more and more. I used to use it all the time. Notice what you're noticing. Pay attention. Notice what you're noticing. Notice how you respond to situations. Notice how you communicate. Notice how others respond to you. And then ask yourself questions like, am I listening to understand or listening to reply? I used to make this mistake all the time. I wasn't even listening for the most part, years and years. I wasn't even listening. I'm formulating my response or how I'm going to defend myself in most cases, right? So we just want to notice this. Am I listening to understand or listening to reply? Am I reacting emotionally? Maybe we're not outwardly, but am I reacting emotionally within, right? Or responding thoughtfully outwardly, right? Am I creating clarity or adding confusion? This kind of awareness gradually transforms how we show up in the world. That's what it's all about, right? It's awareness first. Noticing, noticing these things, and then what we're doing is we're pinpointing, okay. And that probably comes from a habitual behavior. So it really may be something we have to give a lot of focused attention to, but we can change it. And these small changes in awareness can produce powerful changes in results because we're changing at the level of behavior. And that's where we have to instigate the change. And make no mistake, there's a ripple effect here. When all of us, when people in your environment, in your work, who you share an atmosphere with, when people begin strengthening these inner abilities, something remarkable happens. Their relationships improve. Their leadership becomes more effective. Their work becomes more collaborative. Their environment becomes more positive because human systems respond to human energy. Look at family systems. Family systems respond to family energy. Same thing. Human systems respond to human energy. When one person becomes more aware, more thoughtful, more communicative, it influences everyone around them. Growth is contagious. Make no mistake about it. That's why I love doing these workshops, the extended programs, yes, but these day long workshops too, very economical. Love doing these in the workplace. or for a group of friends and colleagues. Hey, you get them together. I'd like to do them with like 10 people or so. That really makes it a win-win situation. We'll do some goal setting, and we'll have a great outcome and a great time together. Let's look at this again then, revisit this again, the information versus transformation. Again, and I've said it a lot. We live in a world overflowing with information. I really think too much sometimes. I mean, we're bombarded with it, right? How many times in the course of a day do you go down that rabbit hole, clicking on this and here and there and here and there? And oh, that's shiny. What's that all about? We got to get a handle on that. That's where my effective personal productivity program is so very important. We live in a world overflowing with information, the books, the podcasts, the courses, the videos. Ideas are everywhere. The internet, AI. But information alone does not transform lives. Do you desire transformation? Transformation happens when knowledge becomes practice and when we influence ourselves at the level of behavior. When ideas become habits, not merely ideas floating around out there somewhere. When insight becomes action, application. That is the journey we're exploring in this series. Not just learning, but becoming, transforming our lives for the better, having an impact and influencing every area of our lives. I like to work with 7 or 8 different areas, of course, finances, relationships, time and money freedom, all of that, health and physical fitness, all of it. So we're just about out of time here. We are out of time. Looking ahead, in our next episode, we're gonna go deeper into some of the practical application of these ideas, these soft skills. We'll explore communication, teamwork, and the psychology of collaboration in a little more depth because leadership is not just about personal growth. That's where we start. But it's about creating environments where people can do their best work together. And that requires a different set of skills than most people ever learn in school. But the good news is that these abilities can be developed. And when they are developed, they unlock extraordinary possibilities. So today I want to leave you with a simple reflection. Ask yourself this question. What if the next level of your success is not about learning something new, but about strengthening how you relate to people and how you relate to yourself? To yourself. Because when those inner skills grow, your outer results often grow with them. So I want to thank you for listening. And I want to encourage you to reach out, successappointment.com. You have been listening to the Genesis frequency. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone. I can't stress that enough who might benefit from it. And remember, reach out. We'll talk more about it. We'll get you moving. We'll get you on the path to make quantum leaps in the direction of your goals, your desires, your affirmations, whatever that may be. Pull it off the shelf, dust it off. Most people put their dreams up on the shelf and forget about them and say, life's passed me by. It's too late. No, it's not. Let's have a conversation about that. Reach out. Successappointment.com. All one word, my calendar. So until next time, remember your thoughts shape your life. Your awareness shapes your thoughts, and transformation begins within. This is Dr. Cause and Effect. You've been listening to the Genesis Frequency Podcast, and I wish for you an infinitely spectacular day. God bless you.